أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه وموالاه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Inshallah, our guest, Sheikh Dr. Waleed is coming. Few minutes, inshallah, he will be here. He told me that he did not know that, mashallah, our traffic is very hard in this side of town. I myself, subhanallah, had to leave 45 minutes from Spring before to arrive here. It took me 45 minutes.
From Spring to Spring.
Huh?
From Spring to Spring.
From Spring to Spring, yeah. Spring 45 to Spring 249. This is amazing. Actually, I was relating this to our topic of tonight. You have to relate it to the topic of tonight. This congestion, you know, always in our marriages we have congestions, right? We have like rush hours. You know, rush hour now, and we have smooth traffic sometimes. And we also have two-way traffic, two-way communication, right? And sometimes we have fast cars. And sometimes someone gets stuck in the road. And sometimes you need a tow truck. And sometimes you need to call 911. So all of the traffic model actually applies to marriage perfectly, don't you agree? Yeah. So this is how we reflect on things. So when you're driving and everything is smooth, this is one of your good days in marriage, brothers and sisters, right? And mashallah, you know, sometimes when things are not going well, this is when you're having one of those days, right? And sometimes you need a tow truck, you need the help of someone, counseling. And sometimes you need 911, means you need somebody to wake you up. Someone to, inshallah, our subject of tonight, we hope and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah Azza wa Jalla make it beneficial to our community, because this is a very, very important subject. So let me inshallah share the format with you. First, this will be a first, to introduce the guest before he comes, right? Before he is here. So we save the time, inshallah Rabbil Alameen. Sheikh Dr. Waleed Basyouni is originally from Egypt, but he's educated in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia and in the United States as well. I know him, alhamdulillah, for a long time, since the 90s, when we both came here in the United States. We were both imams in the southeast side of Houston. I was the imam of Masjid Abu Bakr as-Siddiq IGH back in 1996. And the sheikh was the imam of Masjid NASA, that used to be called NASA Masjid. If you remember, there was a small musalla in NASA Road 1, and that was the masjid, and then it turned to become Clear Lake Islamic Center, one of the model Islamic centers in Houston. MashaAllah, I advise all of you to go and check it out. SubhanAllah, there are few masajid in Houston that people mention it as a model. Not because I'm here, this is one of those masajid, really. This masjid, Masjid al-Salam, is one of those masjid. Like when I go that side of town, Clear Lake, and I talk about Masjid al-Salam, people know Masjid al-Salam, especially also because of the efforts of Brother Muhammad here, our young brother here. He is, mashallah, you know, making our masjid public from all over the world. We have people who are watching us from Middle East, from Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, from UK, from Europe, and from everywhere in the United States. So alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this becomes an amazing thing. So Masjid al-Salam is a model. Masjid Clear Lake is a model also. You go there, you find a family-oriented masjid, a family welcoming atmosphere in the masjid, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Also, Sheikh Waleed is the Vice President of Al-Maghrib Institute. I'm sure everybody knows about Al-Maghrib Institute. That, alhamdulillah, taught hundreds, even thousands of our young youth, professionals, young and old, as well, all over the world. So Al-Maghrib started. Also, I remember that when they were doing the promo for Al-Maghrib, before launching, it was here in Houston. It was in Texas Da'wah Convention. And this is another achievement also of Sheikh Waleed, mashallah, who started this Texas Da'wah Convention. He is the person behind that as well. So Al-Maghrib Institute, he is the vice president. And mashallah, he taught tens of seminars on Aqidah, on the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on family, and on all of that. He taught hundreds of lectures all over the world as well, and mashallah, he's a well-known scholar. He's a well-known scholar in Aqidah and in jurisprudence and fiqh. And he has many papers that he submits to the AMJA, Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America. He's one of the members of the Permanent Fatwa Committee there. AMJA is the institution about the fatwas for the minorities. His General Secretary is Dr. Salah Al-Sawi. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He came here a few times. Senior scholar, and Sheikh Waleed is one of those members of the Permanent Fatwa Committee who issue fatwas in affairs of the Muslim minorities in the West. AMJA every year they have a conference discussing one of the major things. They will discuss in the Permanent Committee. Those are the senior scholars who issue the final fatwas and resolutions, the statements of AMJA. Those are the permanent. Then you have the experts or the imams or students of knowledge and all of that they get consulted on those affairs. Then you have the base of the imams around the United States also, who get the questions from the community, and then the scholars discuss them. So AMJA hold the conferences. They discussed the issue of the housing in the United States. There was another conference about the employment, means the jobs that the Muslims can do and cannot do in the West. There was a conference about that. There was a conference about food and drinks. So what you can eat, what you cannot eat, what you do in different situations. There was also a conference about women's issues, only pertaining to sisters. So all tens of questions that comes to us from sisters. Can I do this? Can I dress like that? Can I exercise? Can I work? Can I, what about marriage? What about children? What about in-laws and about things? So all of these issues that the sisters have challenges with in the West specifically, it was discussed also in one of those conferences, and resolutions were submitted. There were also a conference about the youth and their challenges. The youth and their challenges, like student loans, mixing between genders, boys and girls in the classrooms and all that, marriage, about prayers, Jum'ah, Salah while they are in school. All of these issues also were discussed. So there was also the conference about the masajid, the Islamic centers, and the challenges facing the Islamic centers. One of them I shared here about the children, bringing children to the masjid, building the masajid by loans and all of these things, choosing the boards of the masajid, and all of these issues were discussed also from an Islamic perspective. The next conference that will take place inshallah in 2017 in Chicago would be about the challenges or the issues facing the Muslim minorities in regards to da'wah. In regards to da'wah, like giving da'wah, the new Muslims, and the marriages in this regard, and how the masajid do these things. So the challenges facing the da'wah with all the political things, with all the other issues that is happening. So what happens is the scholars submit papers, and then it is discussed, and then resolutions and fatwas are issued. So our guest, inshallah, hope Allah make it easy for him to come here as soon as possible. He is one of those scholars. The way that we are going to be discussing, inshallah, which will have about 40-45 minutes of discussion. I'll be discussing with the Sheikh. I have the points already, I'll share with you, and he already have those points, inshallah, so the discussion becomes professional here. And then after that we'll break for Salat al-Isha, and after Salat al-Isha we'll have about half hour for the Q&A that were submitted, and we have a lot, we have plenty, all right? So we'll try to categorize them, inshallah, about this. If you have any question, you feel that you have a question, you, inshallah, can write it down. I don't know if they, they will distribute, inshallah, some papers, you could write it down, and inshallah Rabbil Alameen we will address it. If not addressed tonight, I promise you inshallah that will be answered, and inshallah will be posted on the website inshallah. Or I will answer them, or I'll get the answer from the Sheikh, and we'll do it as a video also on our Facebook page as well inshallah. This broadcast is on, we have the papers inshallah can distribute. Inshallah the topic of tonight will be covering the following. One, what is the meaning of rights and responsibilities as a concept from Islamic perspective. Then we talk about marriage and how Islam looks at marriage, and we will talk about divorce and what divorce means in Islam. So with that, we kind of check, it's like a personal check of understanding here. Is my understanding about marriage right or wrong? Is my understanding about divorce right or wrong? So when we say this is how Islam looks at it, so you need to fact check and you need to kind of compare this to what we have. And this is our way to fix, inshallah, what we have and to continue the good that we have as well. Then we will talk about issues like choices, making the choice, and talk about culture as well, and the negatives and the positives of that. We will see the role of the parents, the rights and the duties of husband and wife toward the parents of each other, because parents of one side, they are in-laws of the other side, right? So you have to look at it like that, otherwise issues come. So your parents are your parents, but they are the in-laws of your spouse, and their parents, but they are your in-laws as well. So it goes both ways. And then we look at it from the other side, the children's side as well, and what goes around comes around, basically. So you have children, and when somebody have a boy and a girl, and the double standard that we see in the community sometimes, right? The double standard that we see when handling one's son and one's daughter with two different standards, right? Two different standards. We will talk about the social relationship and also the issue of the social media and the married people and their relationship with other people as well, and the limits of that, and what are the good and the bad of this, and the do's and the don'ts. We'll also talk about the alternatives for courting and engagement time. There is no time for boys and girls to know each other. There is no way to know each other in the way that it is known. So what are the alternatives? There are arranged marriages. They talk on the phone, they talk on the internet, they meet with each other. How this will take place, inshallah Rabbil Alameen. So those are some of the issues that inshallah when Sheikh arrives, inshallah we'll be discussing. In the beginning, when we talk about marriage, I'm sure how many of us here attended a marriage ceremony, nikah ceremony recently? So this is not the season, right? The season is like October, November, December. It will start, like for the past, how many? Like a month ago? No? 2 months? 3 months? Ramadan time? Before Ramadan? All right. Same thing. I'm like in a recess now from marriage. Performing the marriage. It starts like October all the way until like May of before Ramadan. So like almost every week I have some marriage to do. Every single week, right? So I remember when I go to the IGH Men's Center, the brother said, "Sheikh, stop marrying people." I said, "Why? Why should I stop marrying people?" He said, "Because you're creating problems, more problems." I said, Subhanallah, and marriage is a blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But sometimes we feel it's a challenge. How many of you heard the ayah that we always recite in marriage? We always recite in marriage ceremonies. There is one ayah that everybody shares. Surah Al-Rum. Nobody knows? ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا تسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. And among the signs of your Lord, His signs subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that He created to you from your own kind spouses, so you may dwell into. تسكنوا here, second and dwelling. You know, second, your house is called your second, your place of second shelter, dwelling. وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. And He made between you مودة and rahmah. Mawadda is love, but a special type of love. And rahmah is mercy. We know the rahmah. As the scholars mentioned, mawadda is the time of ease, and the rahmah is the time of hardship. So when you have hardship, means the emotions are not there. You know, when you are at ease, you love someone, you know, things go back and forth and all that. But when it is hard, or when you are not getting what you want, then, you know, the feelings change. That's when you need the rahmah. But what is mawadda? Mawadda is this type of love that you give more than you take. When you give more than you take. It's not mahabba, it is mawadda. Mawadda is from wood. And one of the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Wadud. The Shaykh arrived, alhamdulillah. One of the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Wadud. So Al-Wadud is the one who is يتودد ويتحبب إلى عباده. Yani he is the one who making his servants love him. So he does things subhanahu wa ta'ala because of which you love him. واضح المودة هنا؟ المودة is like, you know, you care about somebody and you want them to love you. It is not like you love them only, but you're doing everything in your hand for them to love you. Okay? And once they love you, subhanallah, you are happy. So you are happy actually because they are happy. That's the true love, you know. True love is like when you make somebody happy. Your happiness is because of somebody's happiness. It is not your happiness of what you get. Happiness of what you get, it becomes conditional and temporary. Okay? I want the iPhone 7 inshallah, which I do, I do. So inshallah it's going to happen. So once, bismillah ta'ala. No Android for me. So once I get it, I'm happy. I'm happy, why? Because I got what I wanted. If I don't get it, then I'm not happy. You see here? I'm not happy. And when I get what I want, I love it because I got it here. You see the process here? But subhanallah, what if someone wants the iPhone 7 and I bring it for them? And then I became happy because they are happy. You see that the level here? That's a different level altogether. So when we understand like that, then husband and wife, they understand. By doing what you're doing, by investing in this marriage, this should be your source of happiness, not your source of exhaustion. You know, when a man is working hard for his family and he comes and he finds his wife and his children happy, this is the source of happiness. I'm not going to say, I am exhausted, I'm working for you, you are not appreciative, all of this kind of things. Why? Because here you are not get what you want. What you want is to rest, and you're not getting it, you are being tired, you are expecting everybody to clap for you and appreciate. If they don't, then you are not happy. You see? You're not getting something. You're doing it to get something. But when you are at work and you are tired, you are so much suffering and tired and sacrificing, but you know it brings a smile to your wife's face and brings a smile and happiness to your children, that they don't feel less than anybody else, that becomes a source of happiness and love. You do this more and more and more. You give your life away, feeling happy that you are causing somebody that is true love. Same thing for sisters. When you are doing what you're doing, don't feel like a servant. Because if you feel like a servant and listen to all of these things, I'm like a servant, I'm oppressed, I'm staying this, and we're not talking about abusive cases here, we're talking about normal marriages, right? Being a normal human being. When you are working outside or inside, raising children, doing all of that, feel that you are doing this because this makes someone else that you care about happy. And this is a true love. True love is not the Hollywood thing, you know, like, I love you baby, you love me back, you know, honey. This is, you know, trivializing a beautiful concept. Our deen is based on this. You know that our deen is based on this concept of love, subhanallah. فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَ. First thing is to love Allah, and Allah loves you back, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you love each other, we love each other for Allah's sake. Because you love someone, you want them to be good. When you love someone, sometimes you give them a strong advice. When you love someone, you become lenient to them at the time of leniency and hard at the time of and serious at the time of seriousness. This is love, true love. And because with that base in our marriage, inshallah, then problems are eliminated one by one. I'm not going to say overnight you do what you listen to in this lecture, and tomorrow morning, mashallah, you have a beautiful marriage, everything is cool. And no, this is like traffic, as I told you in the beginning. Before the Sheikh comes, it's like traffic. Traffic is a perfect model to understand marriage. Traffic. As I was mentioning in the beginning, for those who are not here, driving in the traffic. Sometimes the traffic is very smooth. Sometimes the traffic is congested. Our marriage is like that. It's a two-way, two-way communication. It is not one way. My way and the highway, right? So you drive in the highway, drive in the feeder. You have to exit. You have to enter. You have to give the right of way. And there are lots of blind spots, by the way, also. In marriage, there is lots of blind spot. And if you don't pay attention to blind spot, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Crash, right? And then you have a problem. You have to go to body shop and do lots of maintenance. It's going to cost you lots of money, right? Sometimes, as I said, you have a congestion in the traffic. You have a congestion in the traffic. Sometimes marriage needs some maintenance. Sometimes marriage needs some help as well. It is not like always an autopilot. We're still not in 2020, So still we need lots of help. Sometimes your car breaks down. You need a tow truck, so you need an external help. Also marriage, same thing. Sometimes you need to call 911, right? To help you and interfere. And that's Qur'an actually telling us all of this. Qur'an is telling us all of this, mashallah, in different stages. So the base of marriage is love, is mawadda. Mawadda is the type of love that you give more than you take, that you do everything for Allah's sake subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, our Sheikh join us here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We are very glad and very honored that we have our Sheikh and our teacher, mashallah, Sheikh Dr. Waleed Basyouni. I introduced you before you come, Sheikh. So for the sake of time, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. One thing I wanted to mention, but I wanted to mention it in the Sheikh's presence, mashallah. For those who don't know, our relationship, mashallah, goes back to the 90s here in Houston. Alhamdulillah, I mean, since then it's very strong and very good relationship based on knowledge. Sheikh Dr. Waleed was the reason for me to become a serious student of knowledge. He was the reason for that, subhanallah. Back in 2000, when my Sheikh Dr. Waleed Idris, another Waleed from Minnesota, he came and visited here, and I asked him, the Sheikh, to intercede for me, so the Sheikh accepts me as his student. So he was the one, mashallah, made that smooth, alhamdulillah, I mean, so may Allah Azza Jal make everything I do, he had a reward for that, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So inshallah, for the sake of time, Sheikhna introduced already the topic for tonight, and inshallah, we want to start by defining the concept of rights and responsibilities in Islam. As a Muslim, every one of us have responsibilities and have rights. So once we want to clarify this issue, that we are not just living without having rights and responsibilities. So please, inshallah, add some perspective into this.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. It's very good to be back to Champion Masjid. Maybe some of you are back, you've never been here. Actually, I came to this place when this place was not even built yet. Yes, in the old building, like the trailer. Yes, I was in the trailer and I gave a talk there. How many years is that?
15 years.
98.
Yeah, so that's the first time I visited Champion Masjid at that time. And I know it's far, but I didn't know that it's that far from where I live. But alhamdulillah, traffic, speaking of traffic, that's one of the reasons I'm being late actually to attend to this. I apologize. And also I'd like to say that this should be a two-way conversation between me and the Sheikh Mamdouh, inshallah ta'ala, to share our thoughts about these issues. What I would like to say about responsibilities and rights, a very important concept in Islam. Islam never gives someone rights without giving that person responsibilities. Never. You look at parents, they have a lot of rights, but they have a lot of responsibilities. Look at rulers, they have a lot of rights, but they have a lot of responsibilities. Look at children, they have a lot of rights, but they have a lot of responsibilities. Look at husband, he has a lot of rights, but he has a lot of responsibilities. And the wife, and everybody, citizen of a country, employer, employee. SubhanAllah, it is very interesting how Islam balanced this. So wouldn't it be ever fair for someone always to look for their rights without thinking about their responsibilities? So for a husband to always say, where's my right, while that person do not fulfill anything of his responsibilities, that's not how Islam put life. It's not fair for a ruler to ask the citizen to follow and to obey and to all do all this while he doesn't fulfill any one of the citizen responsibilities. That's unacceptable. So that balance must be exist, and if this balance does not exist, the whole system collapses. So keep that in mind when it comes to marriage or marital relationships. Marital relationships cannot be only you ask for your rights. Also, you should ask about yourself, what about my responsibilities towards my spouse? I think this is a very key point to our discussion today. If we can just keep that concept in mind.
Yeah, that's how we wanted to start, Sheikh. Inshallah, we'll make it as a conversation between us. I always say, Sheikh Waleed, it's funny whenever we as imams and sheikhs in the masjid, you find, when a brother had an issue at home, then he will come and say, Sheikh, can I talk to you for a couple of minutes? Said, all right. So he takes you on the side and said, Sheikh, would you in your next lecture please talk to the sisters about their duties? Yes. And then, a couple of days later, a sister, calls and said, Sheikh, we have lots of issues with the sisters. Would you please talk to the brothers about their duties? So everybody talks about duties, right? And I say that means there is a problem in the community. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it is really, it's a balance has to be kept in mind. Okay, I want to say that. You have to keep that in your mind, that it is a balance, you have to keep it. Without this your marital relationship will basically be unbalanced.
Sheikh, I wanted to talk about something, inshallah, issues. I don't want them to be sensitive for anybody, inshallah. So inshallah, we'll talk openly, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Sheikh, when we are in America here, I always have this issue, thinking about back home, and then, cultures. And if someone comes to my daughter who's not from my culture, I have an issue with that. And when I want to marry my daughter to somebody, I have certain standards. But my son, I have different standards. So when is going to be time that we become open with ourselves and get over this? How can we get over this issue? I myself have an issue with
yes.
that. Now I have kids, a few years they're going to become in the age of marriage, and I'm scared of that. I really, so I don't know, how should we handle this?
I would say something first about the differentiation between girls and boys when you have children. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من رزقه الله بشيء من هذه البنات, whoever Allah blessed him with daughters, فأحسن إليهن, he good to them, وأعالهن, he look after them, وَلَمْ يُفَضِّلْ وَلَدَهُ عَلَيْهِنْ.
That's the part.
He said, and he did not favor his son over them. And this is in Sunan Abi Dawud. He said that if he does not favor his son over them, and so many times we do that, you favor the son over the daughter in many areas. In gifts, in financial rewards, in marriages as well. You will see that you will put all these difficult conditions for the daughters, like the Sheikh Fadal, and you will don't care about even 50% of these conditions when it comes to the boy, and that's not fair. Also, when it comes to college, like education, but I don't want to go into the children issue, but when it comes to marriage, this is absolutely true that you will see a very different standard for the married. That's one good point, and also the issue of culture. I respect cultures, personally.
We should.
Yeah, and I really think culture is something to respect. As long as this culture is not haram. as long as this culture is not unjust, is not unfair. I witnessed marriages in Houston where the dowry was $300,000.
I wrote $1 million, Sheikh.
Okay.
I wrote 1 million مؤخر. 1 million.
Yeah. I know a young man graduated from college, want to get married. When he asked, he told him, you know, this is how the rate going on, okay, in this culture, okay? And I will just be open because it's my culture. I'm from Egypt. He's Egyptian. So they told him the rate that's going on, 70,000 starting.
It's the rate now, mashallah.
70,000, exactly. 70,000. I just want to understand, a just young man who just graduated, how will he start his life with a $70,000 mahar? That's just the mahar, the dowry. Where do we got that from? Where is this? This is a very alien concept in Islam. If, alhamdulillah, he has money, he's a millionaire, ask for a million. I'm fine with that. No, if you want to give her like, gold, weight her gold and give her that amount, it's up. But if he is capable. But if he's not capable of that, a young man who has a deen, has a khuluq, has everything. So the financial issue is a big issue in my opinion, prevent a lot of people from proposing. Also, when someone comes from a different culture, I want to say something, it might not sound acceptable to some of us. Believe me, your son and your daughter are not any more Desis, are not many more Arabs, are not many more Palestinian, are not any more Egyptians. They have Egyptian in them. They have Pakistani's culture in them. They have Indian, I'm not saying they're not. They have these cultures in them, but they're not like you. They're not like me. Yes. Our kids is a new generation, mix of multicultural, raised in a completely different environment, no matter how you close the door. So you have to justify to your daughter or to your son why you're taking this position. Why I don't want to marry someone from that culture. Why I don't marry someone from that race. Why I don't want someone from, different cities even and villages. Why? You have to explain to that. If your daughter or son buy into this, that's fine. But I'll tell you the problem with cultures. Al-culture غير معللة. Cultures there is no reasoning behind it. All culture, there is no reasoning behind. Hey, you can't do that. It's not proper. But why? That's it. You can't be standing. Why? It's just no reasoning behind it. Okay, if there is a reason, not all culture, not everything in the culture like that, but there's a lot of things you will not find an explanation for it. One of the most form of irritated me a lot in many cultures, racism is embedded in the culture.
Allahu Akbar, yes, that's the part we need to talk about. Yeah.
He is black, he is Bengali, he is Pakistani, he is Arab, he is this, he is that. This racism is haram. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم دعوها فإنها منتنة. It's a stinky thing, the Prophet ﷺ said. It is ألا إن كل شيء من أمر الجاهلية تحت قدمي موضوع. It is beneath me. So again, racism has no place in Islam. I understand that I would prefer my daughter to marry someone from my culture because that's an understanding. And I'll say this to young men and women in this crowd. Marriage is not only you and her. Marriage is two families coming together. So if you say, if I marry someone who completely cannot relate to your father, to your mother, to your family, there can be fractions in the relationships. I understand that. That's a conversation, an intelligent conversation you have to take with your daughter or your son.
Yeah, I'll share with you, Sheikh. One time my daughter had a project in the school, had a project about culture, to write about her culture. So she came to me and she asked me a shocking question, Sheikh. She said, which culture do I belong to? So she comes and I said, what do you mean? He said, what do I write? I said, write who you are. She said, I'm an Egyptian. I said, are you? Are you an Egyptian? This 50-year-old. So she said, I said, have you seen Egypt before? She said, no. I said, how much do you know about Egypt? She said, I don't know anything. I said, exactly. So you're not Egyptian. So you write what you feel you are. And then, I asked that question, the Sheikh said, and wallahi, ya akhwan, talk about marriage as early as you can. Talk about it. And I asked, I said, if you are going to marry someone, who is that person would be? Who that person would be? I'm asking my daughter. And I want to ask your daughters like this as well. You know what she said, Sheikh? She said, either someone like you, or someone born and raised here. Someone like you, Dad, because I know you, how you are, how you treat me. I want someone like that, or someone who's born and raised here, American, yeah. Right? So American, from Pakistani parents, from Egyptian parents, from any culture parents. This is not the deal with the kids. That's what the Sheikh was saying, inshallah. Now, Sheikh, another issue. We don't want that door to be also opened, it's not open. There are some restrictions as well, so the kids don't take that and say, I'm going to force my parents to do something. How this is looked at from the other side.
See, as long as we agree that marriage is two families coming together, you cannot just X your parents from the equation.
Yes.
You can't do that. And you cannot think about yourself and not your daughter. Guys, I dealt with a case, for example, here in Houston, with someone, his mom, I had to talk to her because she drove me crazy. Not him, not the kid, drove me crazy. And I have nothing to do with it. More than 7, 8 sisters I brought to her son. I said, this are very good sisters, my students, people I know. And his mom is just absolutely nonsense. Oh, she is darker than what I want her to be. Oh, she's too skinny. Oh, and things I feel shy to say.
Her voice.
It's something like I would not feel even if I can't say what she said about physical description. Oh, she's like this culture. This is like so and this and that. So I said to her, "Hello, she's too short. My son is tall." And I said, who's gonna be living with her? You or him? She said, both of us. I said, that's true, both of you are gonna be living with her, but who's getting physical attraction? Physical attraction. That's absolutely your son and your daughter's choice. You cannot, as a parent, that's a red line. You have no right to tell your daughter or your son what kind of look you want for your daughter or son. She likes black person, that's her choice, that's up to her. She likes dark skin, light skin, short, tall, big, skinny, that's her choice, his choice. You have a right to object to somebody's character, to somebody that you think will not be a good candidate for my daughter or a good candidate for my son. She has a bad habits. That's your role as a parent. Your role is a support role. That's why we call you in Islam what? Wali. And Wali is a Nasr. And Wali is the one who support. And he support is basically and motivated by one thing mainly. Al-wilaya ma'naha al-mahabba. Your love for your daughter, your love for your son. That's what motivates you to give your basically input and your support.
If you switch gear, Sheikh, a little bit and talk about the community is right upon those who want to get married. The community is right upon those who want to get married. Also the sisters, if a sister got out of marriage, of a divorce for example. Or
what that means, community right?
If I want to get married, not me, huh? Not me. If someone wants to, because my wife is watching live, so if someone wants to get married, they should look in their community first. So they have a right upon them to see the community. There are some sisters in the community whom you should look at first before you go outside.
Considering.
Consider. Yeah. And also how the community should support those sisters. This is one. The other thing is about marrying young, which is going to be our next point, inshallah. So what do you think about this? Because I always get calls from someone whose daughter, okay, Sheikh, my daughter is 27, is 28, is 30, is 32, and nobody from the community is asking, but brothers are getting married left and right, but they are going outside the community, what's going on? And also a sister who's divorced, or her husband died, or did not have, good luck in the previous marriage, so people always make this as like there is a taboo about that, you know, like don't look at that one. There's issues with it. So, we really need to talk about that.
A couple of things here. Like in my mind, I think one of the things that I would say, maybe it will help. For Sahih al-Bukhari, a chapter on how a man should look, or a man would look for a husband for his daughter.
Or sister, yes.
Yani, you the one who go look and seek a husband for your own daughter. And that's in Sahih al-Bukhari, the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. When he went, قال باب أن يعرض على الرجل الصالح ابنته. You basically offer your daughter to a righteous person you think is good. Umar went radiallahu anhu to Abu Bakr and he offered him his daughter, Hafsa. Then he went to Uthman and Abu Bakr didn't say anything. So he said, okay. Then he asked Uthman. Uthman didn't say anything. Abu Bakr kind of felt hard. I'm offering you or telling you what my daughter is for marriage and ready for marriage, and you say no. Kind of didn't reply, didn't say anything. We're very close to each other. Umar felt bad in his heart. Then later on, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman told him what? That we heard the Prophet ﷺ talking about her, that he's interested in her. And that's why if we say yes, we are interested, she will be engaged to me, and that means Nabi ﷺ will not be able to marry her or ask for her hand. And we want the best for you and your daughter. So that's why we kept quiet.
And if you said no, it would be offended as well.
Yeah, so that's why I kept quiet. So the point is, Umar went and actively asked. Yes. You know, I have daughters in the age of marriage. I don't feel shy. If I know some guy who's good, I will say, hey, by the way, my daughter is for marriage. You know, there is a very great famous scholar, Hanafi scholars. His name is, he used to be called Malikul Ulama, the king of the scholars. طيب أبو بكر الصاغاني رحمه الله تعالى أو الكاساني أو الكاشاني he wrote a book called بدائع الصنائع في ترتيب الشرائع, one of the most important references in Hanafi fiqh. This man, his teacher, offered him his own daughter. He said to him, I want you to marry my daughter Fatima al-Samarqandiyya, which is another great Hanafi scholar.
And if he accepts a sheikh, she's married. They used
to absolutely.
He accepts while they're sitting.
And they married and they were a wonderful couple. But anyway, my point is that's one thing a lot of people feel shy about it. You can give hint. You don't need to be direct. Number two, also a lot of people, they don't know that other people have married. So we have to find a way as a community, to feel relaxed about this issue and to talk to each other about that. If you feel that there's someone in the community good, alhamdulillah, you can approach. And please, if somebody ever approach you for marriage, be nice. Don't make it a hard issue. I had many people came to propose for my daughter, for example. Before he opened his mouth, Sheikh, I have a sensitive issue. I really want to talk. You have a daughter. I said, oh, you asking for my daughter's hand? Jazakallah khair, made it easy for me. I said, I'm happy, I like you, but this is her call. Why don't you come to the house and ask us? Tell me a little bit about you. I just make it easy for the person who come to propose. I'm proposing to you. Don't make it difficult for the person.
It becomes scary.
Yeah.
Now people are scared. Like there's certain families in Houston, for example, people are scared. I'm telling you from feedback now. Scared to go propose. And they meet in the college or the university or something like that, but they're afraid. This is a no-no, right? I cannot go because our father is going to kick me from the house or something like that. So this is a problem. Also,
and also you can use, like for a man, if he knows, you can ask your sister, another sister in the community to talk to the family, see if there's acceptance, and you find your ways to communicate that.
This opens, Sheikh, the subject of, we don't have courting in Islam. If it's dating, there is no such thing, like they will go out together and all that. What would be the alternative to this matchmaking sites, matchmaking events? There are do's and don'ts of these things. So how the boy and girl would feel, because for example, if somebody proposed to a girl, like there is a good family, and I said to the other good family, this is good for your son, this is good for your daughter. Now, how the son and the daughter will know each other before they decide, or we just go for arranged?
Very good.
Yeah.
I just want to say something you mentioned, Sheikh, was very valuable about the previous point. which is marrying a woman who previously married.
Yes.
That's a taboo in many cultures, you know. Even many women will stay in an abusive relationship because she's worried to be divorced.
She's afraid. Yeah.
Afraid, because divorced woman is a bad woman. That's absolutely not true. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of his marriage he married to someone who'd been divorced. As a matter of fact, the Sahaba, most of them married women who were previously married. That's absolutely does not make the woman bad. Because we can get divorced, not because she's a bad woman or I'm a bad husband. No, because it's just a bad match. None of us is bad. It just didn't work between me and her. So, actually, it's always culturally speaking, divorced women are known to be even more hot in the market. Like if you read in the poetry and in the history, they're always known to be even more hot in the market. People prefer them. You know, they're more mature, they have experience in life, they are, you know, so being a divorced man or a woman should not make a negative stigma about that person. Judge people by the, I will ask definitely why the marriage, why the divorce takes place. You can learn a lot about the person. As for how would we find the person, then we talk about how would we know that this is the right person. Okay? How would you know that this is the right match for you? We don't date, we don't do stuff like that. But we still, I will give you 4 points. Number 1, look at that person's friends and who that person's hang out with. You can tell a lot about the person by looking at that person's friends. Is he among those who hang out you know, in places which is bad and, you know, nightclubs and stuff like that, and that's what is he a guy who's 24 hours in coffee shops and do nothing in his life except just check, among those people who are known to gather for gossip, or he's among those who attend classes, go care for the deen, work as social service. You can tell a lot about his friends or her friends. Okay. Number 2, outside, always ask about that person's accomplishments. Accomplishments in life. You want to know if that person really who he claims he is or who she claims she is. Ask them what you have accomplished in your life. And once I represented a sister because her father in New York, so I represented her in the marriage. So her and the boy was sitting together, and I asked him what things that he accomplished in his life.
Like education, business, work, things.
Yeah, what did you do? What did you accomplish in your life? He said, good question, Sheikh Waleed. You know, kind of embarrassing. I graduated and I have an MBA or some like master program. Then I said, that's it? He said, yes. What else? He said, I want to be this and I want to be that. Every second out of 10 points, I'll say 8 of them I want to be.
Wanna be.
Okay? But the sister, when he asked her, okay, what about you? What did you accomplish? He think he's smart now. She mentioned 10 things that she accomplished in her life. She said, I want to graduate with the degree, with a master's degree. This I did in 2000, blah, blah. I want to be the MSA president of my university. I did, and I want to do unify the 2 communities in the, I did by 2 years. I did. I said, oh my God, this is like interesting. You know, see how this is just a dreamer and this person's competent. You can tell a lot about the persons if you're really mediocre or what he's claimed. So that's number 2. Number 3, I will say, meet the parents. You can tell a lot when someone starts speaking to other than you. When you, as a young woman and a young man, talk to each other, there is certain line of communication and certain, you know, feelings involved. But when the parent speaks, they come from a completely different perspective. Because you will know how serious this person is. When you start talking to the parents and start basically, they will give you their feedback. You'll see, we will see from the guy what you don't see. We'll see from the girl what you don't see. Number 4, I'll say, if you see red flags in relationships about the guy or the girl, don't rush to marriage. Increase the time of engagement and increase the time of the contract before the consummation of the marriage. Katb al-kitab. You do the contract, but don't rush to consummating the marriage. Stay maybe 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, especially if you see red flags. Like, give you an example, or question mark. Like, for example, what? They completely come from absolutely different cultures. I don't know if this is gonna clash or they're gonna match. You know, I give myself a time. Or they are completely have different what? Personalities. Like I had a couple once, a guy from Eastern European culture. You know, Eastern European are what? Turkish and Eastern European are very hot and things like strong. And his wife, I'm not gonna say more detail about where they're from because sometimes on this, you know, online, hey, she can talk about me. Anyway, so this girl, she said, Wallahi, like this guy is like, Sheikh, I came, I was like, he's talking too fast. Then the girl turned to she said, Sheikh, I've been, Wallahi, I'm not exaggerating, thinking a lot about this issue.
This marriage is not working out.
And I really think and believe that we need some time. And I said, I figured it out, sister. He speaks 200 words in a minute, okay? And you speak like 2 words in a minute. That's not something bad in you or good in him or bad in you and him. It's just completely different. I said, I bet you anything, you guys never met each other before marriage. You guys know each other through internet. She said, how did you know? I said, clear. Because if he talked to you, he wouldn't be married to you, most likely.
They were texting all the time.
Or you married to him, if you heard him, you will not be married to him. Because you can see how clash this can be in the relationship.
See, the Sheikh, this is a very fine point, you know, knowing about those 4 points, it's amazing. Especially the 3rd point, Sheikh, about the parents. Because, you know, sometimes the young, they want to ignore the parents, sometimes the parents want to ignore the young completely. Now, Sheikh, you know, 1 point. What would be the age of marriage? What would be the age of marriage? 17, 18, 27, 29? What is the age of marriage?
I'm not in favor of choosing an age. But I will tell you one thing. Make sure that when you choose someone to marry to, make sure that there is a huge gap in age between you and the one that you marry, first of all. When Umar proposed to Fatima, what the Prophet ﷺ said? قَالَ إِنَّهَا صَغِيرَةٌ for you. She's too young for you. You know, so make sure that there is a close in age between the husband and wife. Number 2, I know you talk about other point, which is, what's the proper age? I really cannot say, because girls are completely different from one another. There's girls are very mature in the age of 20 and 19. And there is girl, Mahmoud, and she's like 19 years old. There is a boy who's a man when he's like 20 years old. And there is like 26 years and he's a kid. He's like, you know, so look, basically, and that's the reality. So here, marriage is responsibility, remember. If you're gonna marry, that's a responsibility. You know, that means you have income, you have work, you finish your study. So I can't see in modern days, most of us, yani 99% of the Muslim community can really get married and even start a house, and he doesn't have a job yet, or he didn't graduate from college yet. I can't see this happen. Maybe some family can offer that, but in generally speaking, majority of the Muslims that I know, and the family they know, it's very hard in America to find this happening. Also, I would say, make sure that you don't say it's too early. Make sure that you prepare your children for bearing the responsibility from early age. You know, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this, please don't hold me, it's like I didn't come here for a very long time, don't be angry at me. But it's such unacceptable and a shame that, you know what, you have a young man in your house who's like 20 years old, and until now, the only thing that he mastered is video game. He cannot even, when you have a guest, he cannot even come down like a man and sit like a man with the guests. It's such a shame that you have a son who will not be able to stand beside you when you have people at your home, when and he cannot basically behave like a man. And he's 19, 20 years old. Such a shame that you have a woman, or in your home, she is like 19, 18, 20, and she doesn't know how to make even eggs. I'm serious. She doesn't know how to, she doesn't know anything about how, when you get married, what, you're going to order pizza every day? And don't say, oh, Waleed, you're old-fashioned. No, sisters, take it from any man in the world. Any man in the world, when he have a house, he expects his wife to take care of the house also. Doesn't mean she cannot have other things. Doesn't mean she cannot have a job. There's no contradiction. But it doesn't make any sense. This is how humanity been going all this centuries in life. And it is, why? Because we don't raise. You have mothers, make sure that your daughter knows how to handle things at the home. Know how to basically be organized. Know to organize the house. That's responsibilities, beside other stuff as well.
And also the boys have to know how to make eggs as well, right? They need to. And the sisters have to know how to entertain guests as well. So the sheikh is not actually, because I know someone would say, we are saying that the sister is only for cooking and the brother is only for eating. Eating. So it's not like that, I make very good eggs. So if I am able, and my
cooking is not about the cooking.
Yeah, I understand.
Cooking is about, a mother. It's about a wife. It's about the caring. It's about someone taking care of her home.
Caring, yeah.
It's not about the cooking act itself. I don't care how good or bad you cook, but someone, there is someone will take what it's just. Don't listen to this nonsense feminist deals. I'm not all even feminist groups, all of them bad, but this nonsense feminist extremist, rhetoric that we have today.
I triggered the sheikh.
That's basically saying that want to replace or to make men, strip them from what make them men. Which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have said that men are responsible for providing for the house and for the home. And they want men not to act like this anymore. While women are the nurturers, are the one who take care of the children. I don't get pregnant. I don't deliver the baby. I don't breastfeed the baby. Allah created the woman to take care of, that's how Allah made her. And don't try to go against the fitrah. I'm not saying the fitrah is to cook, but the fitrah is to take care of your children, to look after them, to make sure that they are well fed. This is responsibility number one, fall on the mother. Why in custody in Islam, custody go directly to the mother? Because she's the one that she will make sure that she will provide for her child. No. But again, that does not contradict her being a physicist or being an educated woman or being whatever she wants. But in the expense of your family and in the expense of your responsibility as a mother when you have children, no. That's not, and I'm not the one who's telling you no. It should be the woman who is saying no. I said something to my kids, if that's benefit anyone. When I encourage my daughters to go to college, I'm not looking at them to go to college because they are career oriented. They are educationally oriented. I want my daughter to be an educated woman, to be an open-minded woman, not looking for a career-oriented mind woman. That's a two different approach to the issue of education. Two different approach. There is some people maybe have to do that because of economic circumstances. I don't have a problem with women working. I don't have a problem with that. But that's not the that's not basically the foundation of my seeking education.
Education more important.
Personally, my opinion.
That's great. So I was saying yesterday, Sheikh, imagine all the problems started when, I don't know when in history started, like working outside is better than staying home. That's when all the problems started, right? So women staying home, men staying outside, that means men are better than women. That's why women has to fight for it. That's not our subject today, but this is maybe another subject. Sheikh said, inshallah, we have only a few minutes for the Salat al-Isha. Are you okay, inshallah? We're just a couple of more minutes, inshallah. Comes the day. And then after Isha, inshallah, we'll talk about the divorce part of it for a few minutes. Then we will answer your questions. Yani Sheikh, if my son or my daughter, they are young, and there is a chance for marriage, and I will support and take care of it. What is the problem with this in America? What is the problem with that picture? Because the way I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking about it from a different perspective. Now, if my son or my daughter marries when they are 18 or 19, and I'm taking care of them, supporting them to be educated, as you said, and well-to-do, and I'm able to support and all that until they graduate, but I want them to get married, so all this haram happening around, they don't fall into. That's one. Number two, all the other children, they feel that there is a chance that when they are 14 or 15, when they start having these hormones shooting up, they say, okay, it's only 4 or 5 more years and then I can get married. And instead of, it is about 10, 15 years until I get married. So what do you think, what do you think about this?
See, it is not only about financial, it's about maturity.
Right.
The man, he's a man or not, he can't take the responsibility. He knows how to respect woman, he knows his wife, he knows how to treat her for good. She knows how to treat her husband, she knows how to please her husband, she knows how to respect him, he knows how to make her feel special. It's just a lot of emotion. I'm not sure a 17 or 18 years man or can understand this in our day to day. But I'll tell you one thing
It's easier the girls than the boys. Yeah.
Girls are more mature than boys. Women are, women are always mature than men. Anyway, so what I was saying, there is one brother told me something. I thought I shared this with my students. I said, his father told him this. He said, son, and this is, can you say to your daughter as well, anytime you feel that you want to get married and you cannot resist the fitna of haram, let me know and I will make sure that this happens. Just so he always told me that. This brother I know married after graduated from college, and he's overseas. But he always felt that this door is there, is open for him. Just make sure you tell your son that, hey, don't ever think about haram, zina, or dating, or doing this. No. Because, I'll say also this, those who never been married before, their interest in zina, in adultery, it is somehow less than those who know what marriage and what is sex is. That's why I have noticed personally, there's a lot of people who've been married before are more likely to go or are married today. They will go in infidelity and they will go and they will do the zina with women because they know what that means. Versus someone who's still pure, don't know, think about it yet. And this is an issue, it's an issue and a problem that should be also addressed.
Inshallah, we'll pick up this specific point of other extramarital relationships, but we have children here, so inshallah we're going to keep it PG, inshallah. So inshallah we'll pick up that point and then we'll talk about the reasons of divorce. It's a very interesting topic. Alhamdulillah, we are very glad to have Dr. Waleed here tonight. Jazakumullah khair for being patient. And inshallah after Salat al-Isha, right away, we will start. Please stay with us, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن Inshallah, just to relate what was said to what is happening. We talked about marriage as an important institution in Islam. We talked about some of the cultural practices, and there is nothing wrong with the culture as long as it is not haram, it does not contradict with Islam, or it does not prevent us from doing something that we're supposed to do as Muslims, as a community in relation to marriage. Children's opinion counts, parents' opinion also counts, they need to come in the middle. Also we talked about the role of the man and the role of the wife. It is Allah Azza wa Jalla who decides. There is no superiority and inferiority here. The woman is about caring, the man is about earning, and there is nothing wrong about this. This is where we stopped at the issues inshallah will cause that marriage, which is going according to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with understanding, with all what's said, to not to work. And then when the hardest thing happened is divorce. Now I'm sure.
I have a couple of things I want to say before we go to the divorce. Number one, I want to say something about finding your future spouse through internet. A lot of people think internet is a good method of looking for future spouse. I don't have a problem with that, but I want you to be aware of the following. There is a lot of cheating and wrong information online. You know, I remember one sister came to my office once in the masjid, and she said, "Sheikh, is this allowed or not?" She said, "I put my picture and my profile and in basically marriage for sight, but it's 18 years old. Like this picture taken 18 years old, but I still look the same. If it's not even better," she's saying. So I said, you know, but that's just even an example of people cheat. You know, a guy will be in the picture, then you marry, "Oh, you're not in the picture." "No, I'm the one behind him," kind of, you know. You know, be careful of wrong information. Also, you don't know who's in the other end of the computer. That's why a lot of people fall into haram, because this relationship starts online. You know, that fear of being alone with a man or a woman is not there. So online you became very relaxed. And a lot of predators online. So please be very, very careful with online research. Make sure that it's a trusted website. Don't give your picture online, no matter what, especially without hijab. I'm in the area of all the geeks, you know, in Houston. So, but correct me if I'm wrong, IT people. Pictures, if it goes online, you cannot delete it ever. It would never be deleted. So if your picture without hijab, or if it's online, it's online. Even if you delete it from your website, or it's somewhere out there. So be very careful how you you basically use the internet. So that's what studies shows. Number one hunting ground for marriage in the United States is college. Number one comes on the top of the list. Most of the marriages of young people happen during college time, when people get to know each other in college. A lot of still, especially in the Muslim community, a lot of marriages happen because of family. You know, I know someone from my family, from the friend of the family, neighbors. I always recommend that you marry someone you have some information about that person, have access to. Don't just marry a stranger, someone live in Alaska. Yalla ruh dawar Alaska. You go look for Alaska. Who knows him? Who knows what that person is? It's not bad, but it is that's one of the red flags that takes time for me. I'll spend more time to know the person better. But try, if you find something, that's why Sheikh Mamdouh, it's a beautiful point. Local community, people I can reach out. He lives in Houston. I can reach to Sheikh Mamdouh in the Woodlands and say, "What do you think of that person? You've seen him." Someone that there's somehow my family, my community know the person. That's much safer to play this way than somebody absolutely unknown, live in somewhere in Belgium, you know, or she lives in things like that. That's number one. Number two that I have is the issue of caring. And when we say men care, women for caring and men for providing, there is this also misunderstanding that men think their role in the whole entire family is to provide only, which is absolutely not. So one man was telling me, "Sheikh, I give her money every month to feed the kids." And yeah, but where is you're not just a money maker, you're a dad.
You need to care also for
you
her.
You used to care for her and for your children. There is a father matter. Your existence that you should care and you should play an active role in providing and being there, and plus that, you basically care and you raise the children and you participate, like what Sheikh said, and you cook too. That's not a problem. This ever was my point.
Sometimes you have to iron your wife's clothes, you know?
Yeah, that's in the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam كان في خدمة أهله.
Yeah, wash it and iron it for her one time.
He used to help. There is a good book, too, speaking of iron her clothes, Be Man in the Van. I don't know if you read that book or not. Be Man in the Van. Okay, it's a very interesting book. Talk about this concept that men have this idea that they have nothing to do with being at home. I forgot who wrote the book. I think that's what it is. Or yeah, Be Man in the Van. Something like that. I think that's what it is. I have a question for you. You've been asking me all those questions before we go to divorce, as an entry to divorce. This
Divorce
month,
subject. I'm not going to do divorce.
okay. This month of October, is the month of awareness month of
Abuse.
domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence awareness month.
Every minute in the United States, there is 20 people abused domestically.
Allahu Akbar.
Every 1 minute.
And how many people got abused when we're sitting here, for this time?
So that's crazy. It's like what, 8 million a year, or some crazy number like that. Every minute, 20 people get abused in the United States. In Houston, Texas. You guys, which county? You guys, Harris County. Okay, good, even better. Harris County, in 2014, the government made charges against almost 11,000 cases of domestic abuse. In August 2nd, since I'm Sheikh Mamdouh here, in August 2nd, 2015, we all heard Cherry, the poor woman who got shot and killed by her husband in the woodland in front of her 2 kids. Then the guy took his own life. Guess what? Right after that, the very next day, August 3rd, 2015, a woman not far away in Spring, Texas, here, was also slaughtered and sliced by machete by her husband in front of her 2 kids as well. And no, it was not. It's Montgomery County. This is crazy. Domestic abuse is a real thing. So I would like to say something about domestic abuse.
Yeah, we are not also supposed to live in denial that Muslim community, mashallah, they are angels. They are also there are issues of abuse that you cannot imagine. We as also shiuch here in Houston, we getting these news and we getting these complaints about that. We need education. Wallahi, we need education. We need education. It is more than just about personal marriage, your marriage, my marriage. It is education. It is rampant in the community, and that's one of the main causes of divorce among the Muslim community. Because Muslim community is part of the larger Houston community, right, Isha?
Absolutely.
So whatever problems in the community, Muslim community have their own share of it. And unless we open our eyes and unless we face the issues heads on and we see and we talk about it, we educate ourselves and our kids, and then we get over this shame thing. The sisters have to complain if they are living in an abusive relationship, and the brothers have to take it. I have Sheikh someone, because there was an abuse. The husband was like, I'm not going to say harassing me, but he's stalking me everywhere I go, because I am telling him not to do what he's doing. I'm not supposed to be speaking. I mean, as a sheikh, not supposed to be speaking. This is something not of your business. Why you interfere? I'm going to make your life.
You're supposed to tell her.
I'm not supposed to tell her anything. He has to be beating her. He has to be psychologically abusing her. He has to be doing everything, because he's the man. And
You're supposed to tell her, be patient.
Be patient. Yeah, as a sheikh. So these kind of things we have. So this leads us, sheikh, to divorce.
I want to say this. Muslims women sometimes more receptive to abuse than average women in the society. For many reasons. Number one, so many people justify beating and abuse religiously. They think my religion allowed me to beat women, and our religion do not allow beating women. Even the verse that people talk about it, "Duribuhun," has a very specific interpretation in the books of tafsir. It's a form of physical rejection to her. It's not about beating. That's why Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said, it's like, if you have the turban, the tail of the turban, or you have like a scarf on your shawl, you just basically say, stay away from me. That's not a beating. That's not darb. That's a Shafi'i. Ibn Abbas said, it's like with your siwak, not your. It's a siwak. It's just a siwak is like the toothbrush. I call it the green toothbrush. Okay? So like a toothbrush. That's not a tool of beating or hit or hurt. The point is not to reprimand her. The point is to show a physical rejection to her. And the ulama even said about this, that this is when she comes with something major, like adultery. When she comes with something, not just because you have a fight over breakfast, or because she raised her voice. Ya Rasulullah, he came. He said, إن امرأتي امرأة في لسانها بذاءة. She speaks ill, bad. Then النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم said طلقها, divorce her. He said no, but لي منها صحبة وولد. Been a long time married and have children. He said عظها, remind her. Then amazingly, what comes next? قال ولا تضرب ضعينتك. لا تضرب زوجتك. But do not beat your wife. You speak to her. That's what Sahih Bukhari, a whole chapter about كراهة ضرب النساء. This whole notion of beating and hitting, and sometimes in our Muslim family, they justify that. I walk into a house of a Muslim family here in Houston, and I found in the middle of the house a whip. Okay, and hanging, and underneath of it, the Prophet said, hang the whip in the middle of the house so the people will behave well. فإنه آدب لأهل البيت. Wallahi, I'm telling you, I saw this with my own eyes. So I said to the guy, first of all, this hadith is absolutely weak. There's no base for it. It's weak hadith. And it's not correct. That's number one. Number two, there's nobody behave. This is the abuse, using the religion to justify their abusing, their controlling behavior. Number two, culture. Muslims, women have a lot of culture prevent women from speaking up. Asrar al-biyut, hada zawjik, don't speak up, don't talk, shame on you. All this, culturally, she cannot talk. She cannot speak up against the abuse that she takes. Three, many of them, they don't have a status. A lot of Muslim women are immigrants. She doesn't know what to do if she speaks up, where to go, where to live. You know, she might lose her status or she'll be sent back to her country. That's why she has to suffer and to keep quiet. So meaning they don't speak English very well. They don't resource it. They don't know that there is an 800 number hotline nationwide for domestic abuse. So as a community, we have a right toward this issue to create an awareness about it. And to make sure that we don't allow, there is nothing can justify domestic abuse. Domestic abuse can be physically, can be sexually, like forcing your wife or your husband into certain sexual activity that they not feel comfortable with. And in this regard, I want to say, is it Islamically allowed for a woman to say to her husband, no? Yes, absolutely. She has every right to say no if she cannot have a relationship with her husband. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You only do what you're capable of. She said, I know I can. I'm tired. I cannot. I can't do it. It means I can't. Three, domestic abuse emotionally. Let her live or the children in constant fear. Or many things emotionally. Also psychologically. You destroy her psychologically. You make her feel like she cannot depend on anything in life. You basically make her like, or that's a psychological abuse. Also financial abuse. Taking the wealth of your spouse. Making them no money at all. Oh my God, I had a case recently. A guy divorced his wife. We talk about how much he will give her a month. He said, $60. I said, $60? He said, Sheikh, I live off $60. What you want more than $60? A family, a woman should go to college. So be very careful with domestic abuse, something you should create an awareness. Today I give a whole khutbah about it. If you go to our website, domestic.org, you can hear the whole khutbah about domestic abuse and about what Islam says about this topic as well. So I just thought it would be good to bring it up.
Also, divorce sometimes culturally looked at as a punishment. Absolutely. Or as a threat. Like, you know, the husband will threaten his wife, if you don't do such and such, or you talk to somebody, I'm going to divorce you. Again, you add to that what you just said, carrying the stigma of divorce, being afraid of her family, being afraid nobody's going to marry her after that, and so on. So she stays in an abusive relationship. It's a very vicious cycle. And also, divorce becomes like a punishment. Okay, you did this, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to take 50% of your wealth. It goes both ways. So divorce actually...
Divorce became the trend.
Yeah, it is a way out. In the Qur'an, the divorce is presented as a way out to be a good servant of Allah Azza wa Jal. Through marriage, you did not do, we're not able to do that, then through divorce you can do that. And لِيُغْنِ اللَّهُ كُلًّا مِنْ سَعَتِهِ. Everybody, تَفَرَّقَ يُغْنِ اللَّهُ كُلًّا مِنْ سَعَتِهِ. They can remarry again. So we have plenty of questions, Sheikh, but questions will trigger, inshallah, more subjects. But what we wanted to emphasize on tonight, that marriage is an institution. It's for you to get closer to Allah and for us to care about each other, to fulfill our needs and so on. And the divorce also is a way out. It is not a threat and it is not a punishment. Abuse is not accepted in Islam, and abuse can come in all shapes and forms. And don't ever think, my brothers, that it is someone else. صح يا شيخ? It is always a mushkila. Whenever we raise an issue, I am the one who's excluded from that. I am the good guy here, right? And everybody else can be material for abuse, but I am the good guy. But actually, if you check yourself deeper, you will find something that needs to be fixed. And I think this is how we should start educating ourselves and so on. So
sometimes I just want to say also something about divorce. Divorce became very common these days. It's sad. You know, I never dealt with cases. I came to America in 1997 exactly. Okay, since I came to America, I'm telling you, the last 2 years there is some new trend. People who get divorced very, very early in age, and also old in age. And usually I deal with people in 40s, 30s, they get divorced. Now, like early 20s, and that's one of the dangers of early marriages, that the rate of divorce among them very high, very immature. But what's scary, 60s and 70 years old get their divorce. It's strange, I never dealt with things like this before. But that's became common thing now. At least I will deal with 4 or 5 cases I see in my area only. Can you imagine how many cases in Houston and Lodge? And so we need to ask ourselves why the divorces became such a common thing. Why divorce became so high in rate? You know, in America it's about what, 40% or 43% divorce rate. In Muslim country, a city like Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, every 9 minutes there's a divorce case. A country like United Arab Emirates, the divorce rate is 48% to 49%.
And half of the marriages
ended up divorced. And that's inside the Muslim world. You know, and one of the studies that I saw in America, that the rate of divorce in the Muslim community is about 39 to 40%, exactly like what you said earlier, the national rate. It's close to the national rate. That's scary. And unfortunately, after divorce, and before divorce, there's a lot of things to talk about divorce. It's a special lecture. But in divorce, what I want to say that it's a solution. It's the last solution. So don't rush to divorce. Please take your time. Do not rush to divorce. There are steps you have to take first. That's number 1 advice. Number 2, know that divorce can be initiated from the man and also can be initiated from the woman. We call this khula. She divorced him. So it's not just Islam give both the ability to terminating that marriage or relationship. The third point I want to say about divorce, please remember what Allah said in the Quran. فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ. When He said about divorce, He said ihsan, يعني you hold with goodness, and when you leave even with better. Extra. وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. When they came to a sheikh and told him, I heard you have a problem with your wife. Some of the students said, she's my wife. I'm not going to talk to you about my wife. After he divorced her, he came back to him and he said, she's now my sister. I'm not going to talk about my sister. Don't talk about my sister. So there's no need for nasty divorce. There's no need for this. Let's be calm. You know what didn't work out? Everybody goes. And usually when you follow the Sharia, when you follow the rules, it must be happening. Be aware. Divorce in Islam must happen, must meet the following conditions to be considered a Sunni divorce. That's an education must be known to every single man and woman. Number 1, you do not divorce a woman during her period. That's haram. That's a sin by the consensus of the Muslim scholars. You're not allowed to divorce a woman during her menses. She has to be free from menses. Also, you're not allowed to divorce a woman after having, since she finished her menses, no intimate relationship between them took place. So let's say she finished her menses in October 10, and now October 20. If you had a relationship, an intercourse or intimate relationship with her from 10 until this day, even single one, you're not allowed to do. We have to wait until she got her period, she finished, then you initiate the divorce. but you're not allowed to do that. Has nothing to do, she's pregnant, not pregnant, has nothing to do with that. That's not the reason. The reason is Allah saying that. طَلِّقُهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ. She had a specific time for divorce. Okay? Or he divorced her while she is clearly pregnant, that's allowed. A lot of people think it's haram, but that's not haram, that's allowed. So make sure, some fuqaha would not even make the divorce valid. And the third one is, you only say, I divorce you one time. You don't divorce 3 times. No, just one time, khalas. So you give yourself a chance. And if you don't want, just don't go back to her.
So that shows how the divorce is premeditated. Like it's a process. It is not just like a punishment or a word that you say when you are angry. When this education happens, then divorce would be less. You see the Sheikh's point here? Why he mentioned all of these things. That means, divorce is something that you think about for a long time. It is not something impromptu. It's not something spontaneous. Because I'm angry, you're like this. And divorce, Malki, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, like this. Yeah. Somebody called, and said, my husband divorced me according to 4 madhab. I said, what does that mean? What does that mean? He said, you're divorced, Malki, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Hanbali. That shows you that how the divorce is like a result.
He's worse than this guy who, after he buried his wife, he said, I divorce you, I divorce. They said, how would you divorce a dead woman? He said, because I don't want her to be my wife in Jannah. It's like people are crazy.
So this is yeah, to lighten the mood a little bit. But أخوانا, wallahi, I'm suggesting there are courses that each and everyone should take. Like if there are institutions like a Maghrib Institute, like Mishkan University. Mishkan University is offering fiqh of family, right? 1 and 2, about marriage and the divorce and all that. And in the Maghrib Institute there is
fiqh of love.
Fiqh of love, they teach that. So fiqh of love, our young, youth, those who are newly married, older also, you should listen to that. And
as a matter of fact, in November 11, Sheikh Yasser Burjas, which is very specialized in this area, we call him the love doctor. Sheikh Yasser Burjas will be holding a course called Protect This House.
Yes.
Very beautiful course. I really highly recommend any people to take it. Will be in the University of Houston. It's 1 weekend.
That is the education that the Sheikh is referring to. We need to have education, because one lecture is not going to solve this issue. Today we're just opening up the topics, not the can of worms, but we're just opening up the topics, right? To know this. So now, Sheikh, about some of the troubles that people have in their marriages, all these questions coming, emphasizing on that. If a sister is in an abusive relationship, and the question says clearly that if her husband physically abusing her, what she should do? She should call the Islamic Center, the Sheikh, the police, the government. What does she do?
If he physically abused you by hitting you, beating you, choking you, call the police to protect yourself, to be in safety. That's number 1 thing you should do. Then, if it's not something like a threat or two, I think you should still report that. But you have to look into the therapy. This man, you cannot just go back to him like that. Anyone who's abusive and physically abuses his wife, he will do it again and again and again. What will be the point if he get you disabled, or choke you and you get, or hit you in the back and injure your spine, or break your hand? Or what's the benefit of that? What do we want kids to see their mom beating up or marked or abused? So report that. Ask for therapy. If you really seriously feel sorry for what he said, you cannot just go back to him. You ask him to go through therapy. I dealt with a case with a guy, okay, that he would not allow his wife to be sitting on the table while he's eating. She sit on the floor. This is in America. And by the way, this guy, raised in the West. He's not. That's why domestic abuse cross all culture, cross all genders, all religion, all age group. The most vulnerable age group among women for domestic abuse between the age of 24 to 38. They are the bracket age where most likely to be abused. Some said from 18 to 24, But what I have most said the other way around. So anyway, so here I say that this is like you report that, you ask for therapy for yourself, for the persons. You know, it has to stop and it has to be talked about. Talk to your family. Bring someone from your family, talk to his family. He needs to know that it is not okay, it is wrong. That's been my advice to you.
Yeah, so again, Sheikh, the sisters who are divorced in the community, and we emphasized on that during the lectures, if anybody just came new, the Sheikh was mentioning that you should take that taboo away, right? Look to the family, look to the sister, don't look to her experience. Maybe she didn't have a good experience, she's a good person. It is not about she's divorced or not, it is about how good of a person matching the need of someone who get married. So that answers one of the questions.
Also men, a lot of people don't marry guys who divorced, man. Not as many as women, but also so many people, if a divorced man, he will not have a good chance for getting married. And one thing about divorce, when you get divorced, there is a psychological problem, which is you have low self-esteem after divorce. So usually failure. So what happened, you end up with marrying someone next, way lower in standard than your standard.
That's vulnerability. That's why they say that the second marriages are more prone to fail faster than the first one.
Why? Because of this fact. The fact is your low self-esteem, you have low self-esteem, so you will accept to marry someone you would never accept in regular situation. So that's why it's so advisable. I advise this to anyone who's been through divorce. Be very careful from rebound. Just don't start a relationship. Stay for healing. The Quran and Sunnah talk about 3 months period. I would say that's good, and if you can make it a year, that will be better. Just take your time to heal, especially if the divorce is hard and there's like a story behind it, or just to make sure that it takes your time to heal, because you don't want to start another one. If you get married again, don't judge the new relationship based on the old one. Don't look at it from the lens of the previous experience. Oh, he's like this, who's like that. Oh, so just be careful with that.
Also, I wanted to mention that AMJA, Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, Sheikh is one member of the permanent Fatwa Committee. They have a code, a marital code, قانون الأحوال الشخصية, ورقة الأحوال الشخصية. It is available in Arabic and English on the website.
Very good, actually.
It's a very, very good, and the scholars, mashallah, took long time until they come up with this to have, the American way, the Islamic way, and look at it. It's a good education as well. Also, Sheikh, I wanted to relate to this divorce issue the importance of wali. That's why the wali is important, because sometimes you feel that the man and the woman, they're free to do whatever they want, and they don't want their parents on. So that's the importance of the wali, to protect you, to talk on your behalf. And that wali can be the imam of the masjid or the community, or if your father is not available. You have to take on that.
The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, La nikaha illa bi wali. No marriage without wali. Very clear. In Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that أيما امرأة نكح, even the Prophet said, any woman marry herself without her wali's permission, their marriage is invalid. That's why the vast majority of the fuqaha said the wali must exist, which is the father or representative of the father, like the uncle or the older brother or some of that nature. It is, again, it's for your best interest. So a wali, it is absolutely must be part of your marriage. And again, it's just not like you just meet a guy and hey, marry each other. That's not how marriage is.
Yeah, so Sheikh, في another sensitive issue, question, more than one question actually, 5 questions talk about the same thing. The limits of the in-laws and the parents and the wife and the husband. I'm not here to serve your parents, or I'm not here to take care of your father or your mother, or all this issue, their culture. And we're not going to cover everything about that, but if there is some word of advice to clarify that issue.
I would say your wife is not there to serve your parents. Absolutely 100% that's true. She is not a servant to your parents. She is not their daughter. He is not their sons. That's absolutely, you don't accept that, swallow that. Because that's the reality. She's none in the Islamic traditions or Islamic values ever would say that the wife is there to serve your parents. That's your parents, you serve them. You take care of them. She should be respectful. If she serves them and cook for them and do things for them, Jazakallah khair, that's what's expected from a woman who loves her husband, a woman who respects her in-laws, a woman who is a good Muslimah to do that. But it's not something that you think it is a must or she is under the demand of doing that. And she became like her number one goal in life is to please your mom. Number goal in life is to take care of you when it comes to the relationship and her children, not your parents. She didn't marry your mom, she didn't marry your father. And that has to be clear, and I know in certain culture, that's a very hard thing to hear, but that's the reality. That's the reality. In Sharia, in Islam, if you have money, you absolutely first person to support your wife. Then second comes your parents. Because your wife is completely dependent on you. But again, that's not to be abused, that statement. That means I make my wife take all luxury in life and my parents suffering. No, I'm talking about a necessity. You fulfill the necessity of your wife, first priority. Then after that come parents. That's across the board. You will not see this disagreement, as far as I know, among the Muslim jurors. Because the النفقة أوجب ما تكون على الزوجة ثم بعد ذلك الوالدين. For many wisdom behind that. For instance, because parents will have multiple sources of income, but not your wife have only one person to depend on. So that's number one. So make sure that you understand that. Number two, I would say to the in-laws, the problem with in-laws, it's an issue, especially mother-in-laws, is an issue of jealousy. She feels jealous, like her son loves her more than me. She always feels that, threatened by the new member in the family. It's not going to be so loyal to me anymore. So if you know that, be smart. Make sure that you assure her, as a son, as her son, please make sure that you always show your love and your care for her. Don't neglect her in the expense of you because you spend more time with you. Make sure that you make her feel safe about it. As a wife, be smart. Always make her feel that she is not in any way in competition with the mom. You know, Allah yaghfir li ummi warhamha, my mom, before she passed away, whenever she comes to my house and my wife cooks something, we will stage that, me and my wife actually. Okay, we'll say like in front of my mom, I'll say, she'll say, hey, what do you think, Waleed, of the food? And she cooks something my mom liked to cook. I'll say, oh, this is so delicious, thank you. Then she said, but it's no way close to your mom's food. I have to admit that. Oh, my mom will be flying like, oh, it's so good. Yeah, because no threat. She's so happy that, you know what, she's still knowing that this is like the best food, this mom's. She'll be when we do that, she will feel very relaxed. That's normal. So be smart when you deal with your parents. Also, a lot of these problems happen prior to marriage. There's a lot of conflict and, fight before marriage. So the parents already have this idea about the in-laws and they will not change it later. So make sure in the beginning of the marriage, keep the relationship good. Because they make it much easier. 3, don't live with your parents. Sorry, but you know what? Islamically, you should live by yourself. Unless your parents need you, physically they cannot be independent. Otherwise, if they can live independence, live next to them, close to them, but don't live with them. Most of these problems happen when you live with your in-laws. We have in certain culture, in Arab culture and Desi culture, in some places in Arab culture, it is like must all of them cousins and sons live with his parents. And also in Desi culture, it's very common that people live with their parents. You know what? That's not healthy for a relationship. Every woman wants to be independent. She's the queen of the house. She's her home. There will be always conflict. Try to, and you as a parent do that. There is one of the greatest scholars of India. His name is Shah Waliullah Dahlawi. When he was 14 years old, his father married her. In his biography, when he was 16 years old, his father asked him to move out. For a culture in India, that's something very strange. He said, because he wanted to send a message to the society that that's the right course of action. Let them have their own experience in life. So
Also, I would say from the parent side, make sure, before the parents, I would say one thing. Please, please, don't complain to your mom about your spouse.
Yes, hello.
Don't complain to your father about your spouse.
Especially in the first year of marriage.
Seek advice, but don't complain. I go to my mom and I said, my wife, she has no manner. She cursed me to death. She did this to me. Okay? My mom will be what? Angry. That's right. That's her son. She has no shame to say, I would never dare to look at your father's eyes, blah, blah, blah. You know, mother, she will be like very angry. I go home, my wife made a food and cooked food to me, and or she did the flowers, or she sent me a text message, I'm sorry, and we go back to each other, and we forgot about the problem while my mom is cooking. That's what happens when you complain. أشركتهم في حربك لا في سلمك. So be very careful. Don't complain to your parents about your spouse. Maybe seek advice, that's fine. As from the parents' perspective, I have one thing to tell you. Please understand that your children move to another stage of their life. He's not the teenager, he's not the high school, he's not the university, he's a married man. She's a married woman. Give them a chance to build their own experience in life. People are different. This generation different than the other. You know, it's like interesting when I see mom, she said, you know what? I would never talk to your dad like this. Yeah, because you guys like from, you know, another era, you know? You came from a different culture, different centuries, you know? It's not showing respect is different today than 100 years ago. The concept of haya different from one place to another, from time to another. There is certain concept change. If he's comfortable with that, if that's something they can live with, khalas, this is his own personality, his own life. Your role is to advise. Your role from a distance. Keep your distance between your children. And I remember my dad, when I got married, my dad told me, you never come to complain to me about your family. If you want advice, I can give you. But don't ever tell me, oh, this and that. Or to tell your mom. If you ever, I see you come to say that, you're not welcome to my house. That's my own dad. That's between you and your wife. You solve the problem together. Learn how to solve it together. And these kind of advice is so sound, so profound, help in my marriage, and make sure that you pass things like this nature to your children as well. You know, trust the love of your son and love of your in-laws. I have a lecture online if you need more. It's called In-Laws or Outlaws. Okay? I think it's very, I mentioned in it about 20 different points. You know,
so listen to that lecture, it's very good. It's a very good lecture, mashallah. And also the balance is needed. So out of what the Sheikh said, see, he wanted it a conversation, but I like to listen to Sheikh, mashallah, and summarize. So the balance is needed. And as I said, today we're just opening up the subject. So if someone, they have a son and a daughter, which is actually a case, you know, normal in front of you. So the father said, I need help if you find some good brother to marry my daughter, or you know, my niece or my sister. So please, Sheikh, you know, find someone. I want her to become the queen of the house. I want you know, them to be independent and all of that. But what about your son? No, I want a daughter to come and serve us at home. You see how this is going here, right? So it's not about the children, and that's a problem. It's about the person. You know, I want my daughter not to serve anybody, to be the queen of the place. Nobody humiliates her, nobody look down upon her. She does not serve anybody, she's just for her husband. But I want my son to bring someone at home to take care of us. Otherwise he would be abandoning us and throwing us away and things like that. So balance is needed for Allah's sake here, right? Same thing for the children. Don't misinterpret, because the Sheikh warned, don't misinterpret what I'm saying here, that, you know, it is good to help. You know, it is good if you can serve, alhamdulillah, but it's not an obligation, but it is fadl. And that's why, subhanallah, when Allah Azza wa Jalla talk about the wife in the Quran and Rasulullah talk about the wife in the Sunnah, it is حقوق shaykh, حق الزوجة, حق الزوجة. But about the parents, it is birr and ihsan. You see? So when you're dealing with parents, you deal with the ihsan. But when you deal with the wife, you have to give the right. So don't make this one compromise the other one. Now, we have a very important question here. A married sister, she is complaining that her husband have an extramarital affair with somebody else, like have another woman out of marriage, and he knows, she knows, he knows that she knows. Actually, they talk about it, and he's imposing this issue on it. And now he's committing a major sin. What does the wife do? Like, does she ask for divorce? She asks for help? What happens in this situation here? It's a very complicated situation here.
First of all, I would like to say that zina is one of the major sins in Islam. Allah said, وَلَا يَزْنُونَ. Allah said, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't even come closer to zina. Come closer. So the zina itself, it's a very evil act. Okay? And the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam considered one of the kaba'ir, one of the 7 kaba'ir in Islam, one of the major sins in Islam. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I saw naked men and women in a container inside the hell. And I said, who are they? These naked men were screaming and burning from underneath them. The fire coming from underneath them and burning them. Then Jibreel told them, these are the adulterers among your ummah. These are the adulterers among your nation. Adultery is such an evil act that the punishment of it is so severe. Especially the punishment of those who are married already. Muhsan. So, you have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before your husband, before your wife, before anyone else. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not commit zina while you have faith. Your faith depart from your heart while you're doing such an act. What's worth Jannah arduha as-samawat wal ard? Forever you enjoy your life there for a fulfillment of a joy that will last for few minutes or few hours. Would you leave Al-Jannah for this woman that you or this man that you're fornicating with? So that's such an evil thing. First of all, you repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from it. You don't want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is angry and at you. And zina dayn. Zina, it's like a debt will be paid from your own family. That's why Shafi'i rahimahullah said, it's true that the people who fornicate and rape women, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them that this is something happened even in their families. That some of them go astray and start fornicating. Just think about this. Would you like your daughter to be fornicating when she grows up tomorrow? Would you like your wife? قَلَا تَرْضَاهُ لِأُمِّكَ تَرْضَاهُ لِأُخْتِكَ. So think about this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. That's number one. Number two, I will say to the sister who spoke to her husband and she knows about his affairs, that she reminds him of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Makes him realize that if he really shows sense of sincerity and repentance, and this is a disease that he cannot control himself around, talk about what lead to adultery. What lead to infidelity? Is it because you hang out with girls and women at work and you stay late with them, go dinner, travel with them in hotels and motels? Stop. Your deen is more important than your job. Your deen more important than the promotion. Your deen is more important than anything in life. Stop what lead to this sin. Start practicing the religious duty. Lower your gaze. Don't be alone with a woman. Don't have an intimate talk or like, you know, any kind of flirting. You know, they call flirting the decaf affair. You know, it's unfortunately a common thing. People like to flirt, and flirting lead to what's next. وَلَا يَخْضَعْنَ بِالْقَوْلِ. Also, make sure that you don't touch someone with lust or sexual lust. Don't look at the aura of someone. Lower your gaze. Learn how to do that. So when you start doing these things, you stay away from. So if you see your husband really want to change, help him to change. I wouldn't advise you to divorce him in such things. Help him to change. Even if he goes back to it, even if he goes, but you see that he's really sincere, I will say you have every right to divorce him at that time. But if you want to stay in the relationship to help him, that's fine. But with one thing, make sure that he will not bring diseases at home, like sexual transmitted disease. Wallahi, you don't know how hard this on me. When I saw a sister, she's full hijab, min qiyam al-layl, and she has AIDS. AIDS. And sexual transmitted disease because of her husband who brought it to her. That's something like very hard. And I only got once an incident like that I dealt with. But it is hard because she's a pure woman, and and you know what? Her children will be affected by that if she got pregnant. So yeah, this is a serious issue. So make sure that he is clean and he's not like transferring diseases. And that's absolutely right to ask for medical check before marriage, before like having a relationship with him. So this will be my advice in such cases. And since I mentioned the medical, I always recommend every single one of you, if your daughter or you're about to get married to someone, make a medical checkup. You know, in Malaysia, you cannot do that without checkup. In Saudi Arabia, you cannot. In Qatar, you cannot. In most of the country, in UAE, you cannot. In Egypt, I heard even they're going to start doing that as well. A medical checkup before you get married. The court will not process your paper.
That's good.
Which is, I think, it's a very, in community, we should encourage people to do that. There's nothing ape or shame to say. Because it's not about sexual transmitted disease only. So many diseases, actually, genetic diseases also can be a problem before you're getting married. And you don't know people's past and stuff.
The issue of divorce, mashallah, have lots of other things. What would be, Sheikh, the rights of the children during or after the divorce? As I said, if you go read the AMJA document, you'll see about the custody and about all of that. But we're talking here about emotional rights, about the financial right as well. So,
first of all, the husband is responsible financially for supporting the children and the mother who's taking care of the children during the waiting period. And if there is a prenup or conditions put in, it has to be fulfilled. But what I would like to say, it depends how old your kids. But if your kids are like 8 years old, 9 years old, I highly recommend that you talk to them. You start talking to them, telling them, hey, it looks like me and the mom and your mom, maybe we're not gonna live together anymore, but we still good friends. We're gonna I promise you that I will always be here. We're gonna have like a new type of, dividing the time between each other, and you have to make that talk with them. I recommend that you ask therapists, people specialize, and we have plenty in the community, children's psychologists and therapists, that they can help you to do that, to talk. Research on the internet, there's a lot of even keywords how to have a conversation with your child about divorce. And you will see plenty of information online to help you with that. But I'm in favor of being open. If the divorce happening, absolutely, to speak to them, especially if they are 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and older, obviously, absolutely. If it's not 100% sure, don't involve them. This emotional cost between you and your wife, don't involve them in the thing. Make sure that you don't fight in front of your children. 80%, more than 80% of the people who are witnessed domestic abuse and fight at home, they will do the same when they grow up.
yeah.
So be very careful when you talk in front of the children. You don't get these things. And if you get divorced, don't ever say, it was your dad. He was the nasty one. He is the one. Don't ever raise your children to hate their dad. Don't make them hate their mom. It didn't work out, alhamdulillah. You know what? She's your mom, he's your dad, and then so forth. Unless there is something like major, and unfortunately it exists, which is abuse to the children. And I mean by specifically sexual abuse to the children by their own parent, which exists in our community. And I dealt with cases, not one or two, in our community.
Few.
Yeah, and it is unfortunately like, we are like the society. So in case like this, there's a completely different, basically, psychology behind it, different advice I would give. But since it's not a common thing, I'm not gonna talk in details about it.
Yeah, so inshallah, to wrap up, because there was someone from online, he made a comment about, most of the lecture were geared on how to get married and all of that, not to maintain the marriage. And I would respond by that because, it all starts from the beginning, right? If you make the choice right, then we are saving the next generation. Now, maintaining your marriage, we actually mentioned it. The Sheikh mentioned it more than one time about education. Please learn the fiqh of marriage. في الفقه كتاب اسمه كتاب الخطبة والنكاح والطلاق والرجعة. In our fiqh, in our Islam, there is that section. You are about to do business, you always worry about halal and haram, right? You want to buy a house, you ask the shuyukh about it. You want to do something, you always want the Islamic way. That's great. How about marriage? We do the same thing, right? We do the same thing. You want to maintain your marriage? Start by being educated about the rights and the duties of marriage. Even if you're married for 40 years or 50 years, study that now. There is a course, fiqh of family. There is the fiqh of love in al-Maghrib, fiqh of family al-Mishkah, save this house. Those kind of courses should go to it. Husband, wife, children, in-laws, father, mother, everybody, get the books and read and ask your shuyukh. Go to the AMJA website. Get educated about marriage and divorce. It cannot finish in one night, my brothers and sisters. Wrapping up this beautiful session of tonight cannot finish in one night. There is no magic pill. There is no switch on and off kind of thing. It is a maintenance. It is maintenance. Please, inshallah, start tonight a new covenant with your spouses, right? Talking to each other openly. And as I always say, learn how to apologize. Please, start by that. Say it, inshallah. Say it, I am sorry if I hurt your feeling in the past. Say that tonight. There was an experiment, Sheikh Waleed, that somebody sent me like two days ago, bringing couples who are married for a long time and couples who are medium, couples who just married. And the experiment is like this. You stand in front of each other and look in each other's eyes. Most of the people, they don't want to look into each other's eyes. And they said, just look in each other's eye. And everybody's like, she's telling him, look at my eyes. And he's like, looking somewhere else, right? Then the next step, say something. Say what you feel. And then the third step, just give a hug. As the Sheikh was starting, you feel that you're the man you're providing. I'm doing everything I can, What else you're asking? So that's the whole point. When was the last time that you looked into your spouse's eye and see what color it is? Without the contact lenses. So just do that. Subhanallah, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to drink from where Aisha radiallahu anha drink. We talk about those things, but we don't do it ourselves, Let's buy flowers, inshallah, this Saturday or Sunday. Let's all go get flowers and give our spouses. How about that, inshallah?
They say love is not words. It's the action that show our caring. That's what love is. It's about this little act of caring and appreciation. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he married Safiya and she wanted to ride the camel, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he put his thigh for her. So she put her feet on the Prophet's thigh, then she climbed over the camel. In modern days, what you do? You
open the door.
Pull the chair for her when you go to the restaurant. MashaAllah, he said, open the menu and she didn't even sit yet. Pull the chair, let her sit. Open the door for her when she get into the car. They said if you see a man opening the door for his wife, his car's door for his wife, you have to know that is one of two. The wife is new or the car is new. I just ended the light joke, but there is one thing before we leave.
So I'm really grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thankful to him and to my dear brother Sheikh Mamdouh for inviting me to this session and also to the masjid to organize it. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with what I've seen, proud of your work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and hopefully inshallah we'll see you soon more.
Then we thank our dear beloved Sheikh Dr. Waleed Basyouni, Jazakallah khairan, for making the effort to drive more than 1 hour to come here, getting stuck in the traffic. Inshallah there will be dinner served at the end. Inshallah, this is just the beginning of the series of lectures, inshallah. The ulama and the scholars of AMJA would be here, one after the other, inshallah. Make sure of that. coming inshallah and having those lively discussions. Please inshallah participate in this jama'ah, participate in the masjid, always check our news, always go to the AMJA website, read the latest papers and the research of the shuyukh and the fatawa. Jazakumullah khairan wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah.